Order. We'll start with questions. Secretary of State for Wales, Perran.
Number 1.
Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. With your permission, I'll answer questions 1, 9 and 11 together. Wales is leading the UK's clean energy mission, securing 2 major projects in the UK Government's Contracts for Difference scheme last week. This includes Erebus, Wales's first floating offshore wind project in the Celtic Sea, and Awyr offshore wind farm off the coast of North Wales. This is the most successful auction round in European history and a huge vote of confidence in Wales's clean energy sector, which will deliver thousands of good jobs.
Perran.
Whereas how Mittendal, Mr Speaker, I was delighted to see the Erebus project in the Celtic Sea secure a contract for difference in the highly successful auction round. This is fantastic news for the floating offshore wind sector, the new frontier in renewable energy generation for local supply chains. So does the Minister agree with me that now we need long-term investment in those supply chains, not just in Wales, but in the closest landmass to most of the Celtic Sea projects in Cornwall, so that our Welsh cousins can support the unleashing of the Cornish Celtic tiger?
Secretary of State.
Can I thank him for his question? I entirely agree with my honourable friend that investment in our offshore wind sector is integral to realising our potential as a clean energy superpower, creating the thousands of high-skilled jobs in Wales and amongst our Celtic cousins in Cornwall too. And that's why last week's auction round was such a historic moment. And it's exactly why this Labour government has announced a landmark £1 billion clean energy supply chain fund to deliver offshore wind, with £300 million from Great British Energy, £400 million from the Crown Estate and £300 million from the offshore wind industry.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Secretary of State quite rightly mentioned the jobs and growth which will result from the projects at Awyr and Erebus in the Celtic Sea. But we also saw that the price in auction round 7 was 40% lower than the equivalent for new gas-fired power stations, and were reminded by Putin's latest remarks of the volatility of the gas price. Does she agree, therefore, that Welsh consumers will benefit from cheaper bills and it will give us greater security, as well as the benefits she outlined earlier?
State.
Can I thank him for his question? He's absolutely right. You know, this was the most successful round in European history, as I've mentioned. It's the first project, Awyr is the first project in Wales in offshore wind to win a contract in over a decade. And Erebus will be Wales's first floating offshore wind farm. They will power almost 1 million homes. They'll bring £2.6 billion of investment to Welsh coastal and industrial communities. But as he says, most importantly, they'll create thousands of jobs. They'll bring down bills as we produce more and cheaper clean energy and we gain our energy independence.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I also want to congratulate the Government and welcome the announcement last week of the most successful European auction round to date. It's great news for the UK, it's great news for our action on climate change, and it bodes well for the Celtic Sea, the full Celtic Sea floating offshore wind opportunity, which is important for Exeter, the wider South West, and for Wales too. Will the Secretary of State and the Minister explain how this landmark step forward for offshore wind will mean new jobs and lower bills for constituents in Exeter, Wales and right across the country?
Thank him for his question. I mean, the Celtic Sea is at the frontier of our green energy revolution. The capacity for offshore wind will support over 5,000 new jobs and bring billions of pounds of investment. Erebus is a test and demonstration project, and that's going to kick-start the early development of flow in Wales, ahead of larger projects being advanced through the Crown Estate's 3 flow sites in the Celtic Sea that have been leased to Equinor, Gwent Glass and Ocean Winds. And I can't stress enough, this is a once-in-a-century opportunity for Wales, as it is for the South West, and it's why this Labour government is doing whatever it takes to realise that potential.
Jamie Stowe.
Mr Speaker, when it comes to clean energy, I think we're all delighted to see that a new nuclear power plant will be constructed in Wales. I wonder if the Minister agrees with me that it is worse than a crying shame, in fact a disgrace, that the Scottish Government sets its face totally against any nuclear developments in Scotland, such as at Dounreay in my constituency.
I thank him for raising this, and particularly as it's Nuclear Week this week. We have announced the new fleet of small modular reactors at Wilver, expected to support 3,000 jobs at peak construction, power up to 3 million homes, and also the capacity for further fleets in the future. why the Scottish Government refuse investment in nuclear. So not only do they waste money, but they refuse investment and jobs in their own country.
Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I thank the Minister very much for that answer? And she's absolutely right to develop the issue of green energy and clean energy as well. But there's an Irish Sea that separates Northern Ireland and Wales. The winds that blow up and down the east and west coast of England and Wales and Northern Ireland, it's something that we can all take advantage of. So when it comes to working together with the Northern Ireland Assembly, with other people who can take advantage, has the Minister had an opportunity to discuss those matters and that potential for the future for us all? Thank you.
Okay.
I'd be very happy to have the conversation with the honourable gentleman about this. I mean, we're investing in our green industries because this is how we bring down bills for everybody. It's how we secure our energy supplies for everybody, and we create jobs and improve living standards for everybody.
Shadow Minister Harriet Cross.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, Mid Wales is beautiful, but plans that would see 200-metre tall wind turbines at Radnor Forest, turbines twice the height of Big Ben, will blight the landscape, impact local communities and harm the area's vital tourism sector. And we're seeing similar proposals across Brecon and Radnorshire. The concerns of local communities, businesses and councils must be properly considered in planning decisions for energy infrastructure, not simply overwritten by government ministers at Cardiff Bay to meet their own agenda. Does the Minister agree?
Secretary of State.
She obviously doesn't want energy bills to come down. She doesn't want jobs in mid Wales. She doesn't want the investment to happen. Labour is the only party committed to our renewable energy revolution. Plaid, the Greens, the Lib Dems all tried to block renewable infrastructure. The SNP reject the jobs, as we've just heard. And now the Tories and Reform don't want it either. They want to scrap net zero altogether.
Dave Chadwick, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Secretary of State has been highly critical of the legitimate concerns my constituents have raised about the numerous wind farm proposals across Mid Wales. Well, now the MOD have raised their concerns that at least one of the proposed wind farms has the potential to form a physical obstruction to air traffic movements and military activities at the Sennybridge training area. So, if Labour won't listen to the concerns being raised by my residents, will they at least listen to their own military?
I thank you for his question. Can I suggest that he raises that with Ministry of Defence ministers? I'm very happy if he'd like to contact me afterwards, and I'll raise it with the Secretary of State for Defence.
Liz Roberts.
On the 9th of January, Consumer Energy Solutions went into administration. 300 people in Cross Wales lost their jobs. In my constituency alone, more than 40 households have told me they've been left in limbo, often without heating or hot water. Many are elderly or ill. Given that her government scrapped the Eco4 scheme abruptly, what support will be provided to make sure that householders aren't left to pay after CES walk away?
Secretary of State.
I thank her for raising this. I mean, I really do feel for people who have found themselves in this situation, including her constituents, through absolutely no fault of their own. And, Mr Speaker, she will know that we inherited this scheme from the Conservative government, and both the Eco and GB insulation scheme had well-documented problems. That's why we took the decisive action to end the schemes, and we're urgently working with scheme providers to ensure that customers of Consumer Energy Solutions are supported, and we will provide further updates as soon as possible.
Ms Roberts.
We're expecting an announcement on the Warm Homes Plan, which is, of course, to be welcomed, but we can't rerun the errors of Eco4. There was an investigation by the National Audit Office into wall insulation, which revealed fraud and shoddy work. Will she, therefore, join me in calling for a public investigation into Eco4 air source heat pumps and solar panels so we get a full independent evaluation of the incidents of bad practice, questionable profits and fraud?
Secretary of State.
I would simply say what I've already said to the Honourable Lady, which is we inherited these schemes. They had well-documented problems. That is why we have taken decisive action to end the schemes. And she will have seen our Warm Homes announcement today, which is a £15 billion fund in order to help people across the country.
David.
Question I, please.
Secretary of State.
I hold a range of discussions with ministers in the Welsh Government, including about our crucial investment into the Welsh Rail network. We're investing at least £445 million into Welsh Rail to right years of underfunding by previous Tory governments. This will mean more stations, new stations, more and faster trains on the key lines in North and South Wales and into England to improve cross-border connectivity, create jobs and boost economic growth.
And Davis.
Mr Llavarydd. The Treasury has confirmed that the Northern Powerhouse Rail will be classified again as an England-Wales project, depriving Wales again of £1 billion in funding. Instead, we are being asked to celebrate £455 million spent over 10 years in East Wales. This means no electrification beyond Cardiff, no new station for St Clears, even though it was promised through the levelling up, and no upgrades for Carmarthen Station. So what influence can the Secretary of State bring to bear on the Treasury so that the 1.5 million people who live outside the investment area, who are excluded, get the funding that they deserve?
Here.
Secretary of State, the truth.
Heavy rail projects in both countries are classified as England and Wales, whether the track is in Wales, in England or in both, and they don't attract Barnet consequentials because heavy rail is reserved. So examples of such projects include Padeswood in North Wales and the regeneration of Cardiff Central Station. Surely she must know that the economic corridor from North Wales to the North West is vital for regional integration and the economic growth of North Wales. And the scheme paves the way for more services, more regular services and faster services across North Wales and the North West.
Andrew Ranger.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Last year, the Welsh Labour Government introduced a £1 bus fare cap for young people. Since then, these reduced fares have been used on 2 million journeys. Earlier this month, Welsh Labour announced in my constituency of Wrexham that after the Senedd election in May, we will build on this success with a £2 bus fare for all fares and over 100 new routes across Wales. Would my right honourable friend join me in supporting this announcement, and can she update the House on what else the UK and Welsh Labour governments are doing together to improve Wales's transport infrastructure?
Thursday.
Well, the introduction of the £1 bus fare cap for young people and now a £2 cap on all fares from the Welsh Labour Government has been great news and will help everyone with the cost of living. And the 100 new bus routes right across Wales that will happen if the Welsh Labour are re-elected in May will further help people take advantage of the new opportunities and jobs we're creating across Wales. Of course, all this has been made possible because there are two Labour governments working together for Wales. Our record-breaking budget settlement for the Welsh Government has delivered nearly £6 billion more in spending power, enabling them to invest more in transport and other public services.
Mims Davis, Shadow Secretary of State.
Following an FOI, several questions at the dispatch box and my pre-Christmas letter to the Secretary of State, a serious explanation on railway funding in Wales is still lacking. Previously, she said in the Chamber, we are investing to right the years of underfunding. And to the Select Committee, there was a widespread agreement. Many others have expressed similar sentiments. Mr Speaker, this isn't evidence of underfunding. It's an opinion. So will she finally tell the House what method she is using to reach her opinion and outline how much Network Rail intends to invest in Welsh railways?
Secretary of State.
The honourable member will know very well from my reply to her letter that her assertion is fundamentally wrong because she's referring to a combination of operations, maintenance, renewals and enhancement funding for the total figures under Conservative governments. This Labour government has announced nearly £500 million investment in Welsh Rail, specifically and solely in enhancement funding. And that money is being front-loaded in this spending review period to deliver new stations, more and faster trains as soon as possible. But, Mr Speaker, she should carry on desperately trying to defend her party's appalling record in government because all she's doing is reminding everybody about it.
Whitney.
Question 3, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The UK and Welsh governments are working closely together in supporting the agricultural sector, particularly so when it comes to cross-border movements and disease control. As always, our message to farmers is to remain vigilant, vaccinate where possible, source responsibly and test. Through this approach, we can minimise disruption.
John Whitby.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Given the integrated nature of livestock markets across England and Wales, farmers in my constituency are still facing challenges from restrictions linked to blue tongue. Could the Secretary of State update the House on what discussions have occurred with DEFRA and the Welsh Government about minimising disruption to cross-border livestock movements arising from blue tongue testing and certification requirements?
I thank my honourable friend for his question, and he's absolutely right to raise the integrated nature of livestock markets across Wales and England. And I'd like to reassure him that this government is working together with the Welsh Government on all animal health-related issues, including blue tongue. I regularly speak to my colleague Hugh Iranka-Davis, Cabinet Secretary for Rural Affairs, on these matters. Through this collective effort, we've ensured that livestock movements can continue. But I will stress once again the importance of being vigilant, vaccinating, sourcing responsibly and testing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What assessment has the Minister made of the value of a single UK-wide digital livestock traceability system to support Welsh farmers and reduce welfare and compliance risks for Northern Ireland processors who rely on Welsh farmers?
Minister.
I'm sorry, it was very hard to hear that question, but let me assure him that our new SPS agreement with the EU will facilitate the smooth flow of agri-food and plants from Wales to Northern Ireland, protecting the UK's internal market, reducing costs to business and improving consumer choice.
Question number 4, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Welsh language broadcasting plays a critical role in shaping Welsh identity and culture. S4C has played a vital role in helping revitalise the language and ensures it's kept relevant amongst the ever-growing number of people who speak it, not just in Wales but around the world. Their essential contribution is reflected in the BBC Charter Review Green Paper published just last month.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Welsh does very well out of broadcasting, but I'm glad the Western Isles are well represented on the airwaves just now. The standout star of Traitors, this season's Traitors, is Stephen Libby from the Isle of Lewis. I think he's going to win it this weekend. I'm glad Gaelic has its place in the government's Green Paper on broadcasting, but the UK government gives S4C £7.5 million a year to help in digital broadcasting. BBC Alapa, the Scottish channel, gets nothing. Will the Minister join me in my efforts to get the UK government to re-engage with Gaelic broadcasting as a cultural and economic dynamo?
Minister.
Well, I think we're all glued to the traitors this season, and with the exodus from the Tory benches to reform, it's hard not to believe that we're actually living through real-life traitors. But I thank my honourable friend for his question. Welsh and Gaelic were the first languages of their nations and have a strong social, cultural and economic significance. As a Welsh speaker myself, I know just how important that is. This government recognises the contribution MG Alba makes to the lives of Gaelic speakers across Scotland and the UK. And my honourable friend will be aware of the BBC Charter Review launched in December, considering how the BBC can best support minority languages, including Gaelic.
The Minister will be aware that Ofcom is currently consulting on a draft code of practice for the prominence of public service broadcasters in the digital platforms. Does she agree that it's essential that SPLREC is included in any measures that come out of that consultation so that they do have greater prominence on smart TVs and other digital platforms?
Thank you. My honourable friend, across the benches raises a very, very important point, and one which I've regularly discussed with S4C and my colleagues in the Department for Culture, Media and Sport. It is fantastic news that last week the BBC and S4C announced plans for a major new streaming partnership, giving greater prominence for S4C on the iPlayer. But I know there's more to do on this issue, and I will continue to work with my colleagues and broadcasters on this matter.
Chair of the committee, Ruth Jones.
Mr. Speaker, the Welsh Affairs Select Committee took evidence from the CEO and Chair of S4C last week, and it was good to hear their plans for the future. So what discussions has the Minister had with S4C and other broadcasters to further the development of the Welsh language across Wales and beyond?
Minister.
I thank my honourable friend for her question, raising the importance and sustainability of S4C. And it is that is crucially reflected in the BBC Charter Review launched just in December. And I will continue having those conversations with my colleagues here in Welsh Government, but also with the broadcasters themselves.
Rachel Taylor.
Question 5, please, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With your permission, I'll answer questions 5 and 6 together. This government is absolutely determined to improve the cost of living for families across Wales and the whole of the UK. It's why we're benefiting 69,000 children in Wales by scrapping the 2-child limit. It's why we're slashing household energy bills by an average of £150 a year. And it's why we're again increasing the national minimum and living wage, building on the previous increase which boosted the incomes of up to 160,000 workers in Wales.
Rachel Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The latest interest rate cut, the 6th since Labour formed this government, is great news for mortgage holders in Wales, in North Warwickshire and Bedworth and across the UK. Bringing down the cost of family mortgages by almost £1,400 a year. Would the Secretary of State update the House on how this government's policies are helping to strengthen our economy and improve the cost of living as a result?
Secretary of State.
Can I thank my honourable friend for her question? She's absolutely right, Mr. Speaker. This government is supporting people across Wales and across the UK with the cost of living. Since we came into government, households who are now taking out a new mortgage are saving around £1,400 a year on their mortgage repayments. We've increased the state pension by 4.8%, and that will take effect in April, benefiting 700,000 pensioners across Wales, and uprating universal credit standard allowance by over 6%, the first ever permanent real terms increase, benefiting 320,000 households in Wales.
Mr. Speaker, the cost of living is still a major concern for my constituents in Llanelli, so I very much welcome the decision by this Labour government to give householders £150 help with their domestic energy bills. But can the Secretary of State explain exactly who is eligible and when and how they will receive this money?
Can I thank my honourable friend for her question? Energy bills are a significant issue for people across the country, and that's why from April this year all households will see an average £150 reduction in costs on their energy bills thanks to this Labour government. Energy suppliers will pass on the savings automatically to households, and she will have seen today the launch of our Warm Homes Plan, the £15 billion fund, and in Wales this will make grants available for households to replace gas boilers with heat pumps, and it will mean stronger standards on landlords who privately rent homes so they are safer, warmer and more affordable to run.
James Davis, Shadow Secretary of State.
Wales could be disproportionately affected by US tariffs, which could be a challenge for many Welsh businesses. The words of Labour First Minister Baroness Leonard Morgan in her correspondence to the Prime Minister. Lots of talk about traitors, but Mr. Speaker, we, the Conservatives, over the past 27 years, are the ones who seriously scrutinised, challenged and exposed the failings of Welsh Labour, clearly propped up by Plaid and the Lib Dems. So will she confirm it's the two fabled Labour governments who simply cannot work together who are just making the cost of living and unemployment worse in Wales?
Secretary of State.
Wages are up. Wages are up. Inward investment is up. Inactivity is down on the year. Unemployment is down on the year. And we've had 6 cuts in interest rates so that families taking out a new mortgage are £1,400 a year better off than they were under the Tories.
Sean Davis.
Number 7, sir.
Minister.
As two governments, we are committed to working together to keep cross-border arrangements fair, transparent and patient-centred. I'm proud that last year's spending review saw the largest financial settlement in the history of devolution. Working in partnership, we will fix the NHS and make it fit for the future.
John Davis.
Mr. Speaker, the incredible Lincoln Davis Cancer Charity provides life-saving and life-changing cancer care, working with the NHS to support patients across Wales, Telford and wider Shropshire. The charity and the NHS has plans to double capacity of cancer treatment. I am proud to support this campaign. Will the Secretary of State and the Minister meet with me to discuss how she, the Welsh Government and the Welsh NHS can work together to double cancer treatment across our area?
I thank my honourable friend for raising the important work of the Lincoln Davis charity. I understand their appeal is seeking to raise £5 million to grow cancer care awareness in his area. This government is committed to catching cancer earlier and treating it faster. And I'd be very happy to meet my honourable friend to discuss the charity's fundraising campaign.
There you go.
Paris Health Board has been categorising the needs of its patients based on cost rather than on their clinical need, and that's causing a real problem for the Robert James and Agnes Hunt Orthopaedic Hospital in my constituency and the associated Headley Court Veterans Centre, because they need to prioritise patients based on clinical need and not on whether Paris Health Board will pay for them this year. What is the Secretary of State for Wales doing about that problem with Paris Health Board? So we're treating patients based on their clinical need and in a way that my hospital trust can manage.
Minister.
I thank the honourable member for raising this, and I certainly can write to her with the details on the Powys Health Board and what we're doing, but I can assure her that this government is committed to working with the Welsh Government to ensure cross-border arrangements are fair and transparent and focused on patient needs. This is